I'm just going to start our recording.
Sorry.
Now, okay. Is there any way to
Right.
see all attendance in the comments? I don't know, Nia.
I
Is
think
my
we're in.
honest answer to that. Presume if you click on your chat, you should be able to see the attendance. But I'm not quite sure how your panelist option looks like. Sorry, I can't help with that one. Okay, welcome, Edwina. You're here.
Hi.
After
Hey.
some technical issues today, we've got here. Whoop whoop.
Yes, we have, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all just so new, this for me. So we're getting there.
Yes, and do you know what? I've just seen you rocket into an absolute powerhouse in the last couple of weeks with all of this. You've just taken your skills to a whole new level.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, normally this time of the year it's herb walks, courses, medicine making, clinics, and all of a sudden all that's sort of like gone, and I've had to learn a completely new different set of skills in just a few weeks. And
Yeah,
so from doing her books, it's been really quite technical stuff in building websites, doing webinars,
yeah.
Zoom calls. But
But it's
it's
also
been nice
quite,
doing medicine making today as well.
yeah, you managed to get some of what you know,
Yeah,
what you're good at in.
from the H2S camp, so the activists down there, they're all in a field, trying to battle for our beautiful countryside. So I've been making lots of medicines for them, just ready to send down and box up.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, that's
Yeah.
lovely. Do you know, I kind of see so many women who are working in these kind of like capacities, working with the earth, working with healing. Everyone's stepping up at the moment and almost being like
Mm.
forced into being more active online, being more present, using technology more to mean their arms branch out to more and more people. And that's what I see you doing. You know, you've always had such incredible work. But now you're like reaching more people and you're really getting so many like people who might not normally be interested in plants and herbs, getting them really fired up and inspired. I know you have me.
Yeah, it's great actually. So since doing things like videos and really getting out there, I've just seen this explosion of interest. People making things from dandelion flowers, wild garlic pesto, using nettles,
Yeah.
talking about herbs, trying things, doing like dandelion, vegan honey. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
It makes me feel really happy because people are starting to connect with the earth again and to
Yeah.
actually look at our beautiful wild weeds for what they are, our native ancestral medicines.
Yeah. It's just so
It's quite
amazing. So
exciting
just for
today.
those people, yeah, it's so exciting. And the two bits I know so far from you and your videos, which I've just loved so much. So I've picked nettles, I've made nettle tea and put nettles in soup. And I've done some stuff with dandelions as well, which hopefully we'll talk about in this call. Um,
Yeah.
so for those people on, and we've got a beautiful group on, we've got 21 of us on, which is just really
Wow.
lovely. So there's a lot of people who want to be taught and helped with foraging and the things that are available. Anita collected nettle tea last week. That's lovely. Dandelion tempura. Ooh, that sounds
Oh,
yummy,
that sounds
Carla. So, for those people on the call, you might want to get a paper and pen, because there might be some things that Edwina shares with us that you might want to take note of. But also note that this video will be recorded, and it will be uploaded on the Sister Circle Temple group. So if you're not a member of the Sister Circle Temple group and you'd like to be, then you can find it under Sister Circle Temple on Facebook. And we'll upload all the videos from there. If there's anything you want to recap on or you can't stay for the whole call for whatever reason. So for those people who don't know me, I'm Kate and I run the Sister Circle, and these temple talks are a new venture for me, but so bloody fun and exciting. So every week I get an amazing inspirational woman who's got something to share with us and come on a Wednesday at 7 o'clock to share. And so this week we've got the amazing Edwina. She's a medical herbalist, and I'm gonna start. So Edwina, right from the beginning, where did it start? Like, where did your love of like herbs and things begin?
the love of herbs has always been there actually from being a child and just picking things and just knowing them were medicinal. And when I don't know if people my age group remember, those like mushroom baskets, the ones that were made of wood. And I used to carry one of those in the park, probably at about 6. I remember putting plantain in and comfrey, seeing my grandma use comfrey, and just knowing they were medicinal. And it was just like, stuff.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like I've always been interested in nature, and that sort of left me for quite a while because I became a nurse and a ward sister, and so sort of went into orthodox medicine and left nursing sort of like early sort of 30s after quite a bad back injury, and ended up training as a reflexologist and aromatherapist. So I was an aromatherapist for quite a long time, but there was always that love of herbs that was there because I really wanted to get back to the plants rather than just work with an essential oil. So probably about 15 years ago, I did my degree in herbal medicine at St Andrews University, and I don't know, I just loved it. I mean, I'd been making things for years and years before then, dabbling, making stuff from the land, using it, even like the kids when they were little. I mean, they're sort of like mid-20s now. I used to get them and all the mates making nettle soup and balms from the garden. They used to be like, the kids grew up with like mum's magic cream, which was like calendula and plantain, just stuff I'd made from the garden that worked on the cuts when they were little. So there's sort of like my kids, I mean, my daughter's 22 now, she's sort of grown up with it all, she knows, stuff. So it's like always been there in the background.
Yeah. And so, you come from a nurse. Oh, sorry, Adrian.
Working with it all the time. You make your medicines, you see patients, consultations. And I don't know, I just love being out in the land, that sort of connection to plants, and working with that energy of the season, because I always think that when you work with the healing of the plants, there's lots of different stages to it, and one is just sometimes simply going out and just being with the plants and recognizing them and understanding them and knowing that these were our ancestral medicines, that although we've forgotten, that DNA memory is still there, which is what I think I've always had, because sometimes I've just sometimes known what plants were and that healing. So I think there's that real deep connection with the land and ancestors as we forage.
And it sounds like there's more of a remembering rather than a learning with this, right? That like, because our ancestors have done this, and we talk in the Sister Circle and lots of the videos about epigenetics and the idea that we've already got this in our, like you said, in your DNA, in your genes, that at some point in our ancestry, I mean, it's not a maybe, it's a definite, that we would have lived off the weeds and plants that were around us.
I mean, if you think, Kate, the plants came first, and the plants have always been here, and however humans came into being, the plants sort of have watched our evolution wherever we came from, and we've depended on the plants for food, for medicine, for dyes, for clothes, for fuel, house building. In fact, without the plants, we wouldn't be here. And our bodies have adapted to them. And you think about, if you think, human beings could be 500,000 years old. Well, that's 500,000 years of working with plants, knowing plants, understanding plants. And then all of a sudden, in the last 50 years, we've forgotten about them. And that memory is still there, with us, because it's in our genes, it's how we've evolved.
Yeah. And do you think it was more of like women's work, or do you think it was men and women's, because I've read lots of like women's stuff, which was like women being keepers of the land and, and really in tune with that side of nature? Or do you think it was kind of everyone that was like really connected and involved with the plants?
I think it was everybody that was connected to the plants. I mean, how could you not be? You're out there with them all the time.
Yeah.
I think there would have been those amongst us that really sort of like worked with them in a deeper way, that held that deeper knowledge of the human body, plants and medicines to use, that probably went beyond sort of like everyday knowledge. And I think there would have been shamans. I mean, whether we probably wouldn't have called them shamans, because that's like a Siberian word, but we would have had our own words of people that sort of knew about the plants, that asked the plants, that worked with them, that worked with the spirit of the plants. And we can certainly start to see that, when we go back to some of the Anglo-Saxon texts, like the Laknunga, and we can see where magic and spirituality and just the physical medicine is so interwoven, there's no separation. So I think there would have been those wise people, men and women, who would have been able to work in that different, almost shamanic way with the plants as well.
Yeah, and
Because
I
sometimes
love
people,
that so much, that the feeling that you can work with the essence of the plant. And
yeah,
like what you were mentioning earlier in our pre-chat, that you were saying that people think we have to digest the plant, but actually just being in the presence and the essence of that plant
yes,
can be deeply healing if you know what the capabilities and the structure of those plants, not the structure, but the essence of that plant is.
yes, yeah. I mean, people say, how would we have known what the healing properties are of a plant? And I think I don't know how people view our ancestors in the past, whether they thought we were sick or not, because
Mm,
people say, oh, yeah, it's trial and error. You know, you have a headache, you pick up a plant, see if it kills you or see if it cures your headache.
yeah.
Our ancestors didn't work like that at all. I mean, they weren't stupid. They knew by sort of journey into the plant, by looking at the plant, seeing where it grows,
Mm,
seeing what sort of um, how that plant communicates with us, whether that's in a very spiritual way or a very physical way as well.
mm,
You know, there is that what's called the doctrine of signatures, where part of that plant will tell you from the way it looks or the way it behaves into what it does. So, for instance, a plant that is yellow or has, say, yellow in the roots is to do with the liver and gallbladder. A plant that has sort of red in it, like with Herb Robert, is to do with blood. And then there's also bits on plants when you look that will tell you what they do. Like if you find eyebright at all, and that grows sort of in the moors here,
mm,
and grows in top holes and other places, and it's a really tiny plant with almost like an eye on it, and that's really good for eye problems, you know, or sore
mm.
eyes or congested eyes. And it's that looking at the plant to see what it does. You know, plants that grow in, you know, damp places, you know, like willow would be really good for sort of like damp problems like arthritis,
Mm, yeah,
you know, and sort of joint pains. So it was looking at the whole plant, where it grew, what it did, how it smelled, that would give us clues to what it did. And
yeah.
then, of course, the taste, you know, tasting things and dieting things that would
And
that
would you
plant.
consider that as going further than that, it could be the nature of how the plant grows itself could then be what
Yeah,
it could do for the body. So, yeah, and like I read a book a couple of years ago by William Bloom, which was all about the kind of the back flower remedies, and I was just absolutely fascinated by some of the kind of essences behind the flowers, and they looked at the way that the way that plant would grow. So, for example, something that would grow in a barren landscape would be really good for like a sense of hardiness in the human,
yeah,
because that,
absolutely.
yeah. So it does work like that. Because I was always kind of like maybe a little bit, I don't know, like skeptical in the past, but I think I'm like much more open to the idea that if a plant can do that for itself, and then you consume the nature of that plant, then you can take on that kind of, essence. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about the healing constituents a plant produces, sometimes it's essential oils, which are
Mm,
highly antibacterial. Sometimes there's tannins, which to close wounds up. Sometimes that, you know, the healing constituents a plant has, we automatically think it's there for us,
yeah,
but it's not. It's there for the plant as well.
yeah.
So a lot of those properties are there to help the plant survive
Mm,
and to help with the environment as well. So if we see, you know, antibacterial properties in a plant, it's quite often because that's to protect the plant from bacteria in case it gets injured, you know,
mm,
or to protect the surrounding, you know, with that aromatherapy, you know, with that sort of like aromatic, those volatile oils, you know,
mm.
that surround it. So a plant
Amazing.
produces the chemicals for itself, um, and sometimes the way that plant is, right, just say if it's used to living in a very sort of like very difficult or challenging environment, it adapts to how to cope with stress. So
Mm,
when we consume that plant with things like rhodiola, for instance, I've got that in my garden, that grows in really high altitudes and in quite challenging situations. So when we need support with stress, that is one of the first plants that we might have. Yeah, it's a
amazing.
series of plants called adaptogens that help
Mm.
our body adapt to stress. But what's in those plants helps that plant adapt to stress as well.
Do you know, it's
Yeah,
amazing, and it's just further just instills my absolute faith in nature. I mean, I've
amazing.
shared quite openly on my group that you know, I kind of, it was instilled in me a little bit more than, I kind of like to call it a bit of an awakening, that although, you know, medical science is incredible in its own way, and it can be so supportive and helpful. I felt a little bit like in my life that I'd been kind of indoctrinated that it was the only way, and that it was the only way of healing. And it came to a point when my daughter was really, really ill, and they offered her medication. And I just really instinctively felt that this wasn't right. And so, because I didn't choose to go down that route, and felt like it was going to be a detriment to her if I didn't, I needed to find something else. And so, looking and searching towards plants and towards nutritional foods and all of that side of things kind of really changed my outlook on the fact that I genuinely believe that nature has so much to give us in terms of healing. And this even more so suggests that there's even more than that, you know, with the essence of the plants, and being able to, you know, study that and look into that more. It just seems like fascinating.
It is fascinating, Kate. I mean, when I was a nurse, I mean, I've worked in both. So, you know, for 13 years, I worked as a nurse in.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you that. I wanted to ask, like, what is that kind of relationship like from coming from a nurse background and also being very much into, you know, plants and natural healing?
It was quite sort of strange because I think it was there in the background, but I'd forgotten it. And when you think about some of the drugs you give, like aspirin, that's derived from willow bark,
Mm,
or it's derived from meadowsweet, or even some of things like some of the chemotherapy drugs like vincristine and Taxol come from plants, you know, sort of
mm,
periwinkle come from you. So, you know, some of the constituents of those plants that you're actually administrating, even things like morphine, you know,
mm,
and diamorphine, you know, comes from sort of poppy. And there is this with some plants, this sort of like this herbal route where, you know, chemicals have been taken from that plant, highly synthesized,
mm,
and, you know, then given to sort of, you know, to humans. So I'd sort of been with that, and you can see like the limitations of orthodox medicine. And sometimes I've seen miracles with orthodox medicine, you know, with infection and when patients are very sick. But there was also those chronic illnesses that people never really seem to recover from.
mm,
And I think my own sort of real brush with herbal medicine was when I trained as I'd left nursing, I trained as a reflexologist, and I'd had a really bad cough for about 3 months,
mm,
and it just wasn't going. And I'd had X-rays, I'd had everything the doctor had prescribed, you know,
mm,
the pharmacist even made me some stuff up. And it was a herbalist friend of mine that said, "Why don't you try this little herb called plantain?"
mm,
And he told me what it looked like. And I went out to a friend's field. She was a farmer and she had an ancient meadow. And I picked this plantain, very curious, I think, and I made a medicine with it. And within a week, my cough had cleared up.
amazing.
And that was it. I was just, it just did something to me to
Mm,
know that a herb could actually make that difference in such a short space of time.
yeah, it's so
Um,
amazing.
so, I mean, as a herbalist, I see amazing things with herbs. I see people work with herbs themselves and try something and then ring me and say, or message me and say, "I've tried this and it's done this.
Yeah,
You know, I've made some sort of sage cream and it's helped my husband's eczema,
yeah,
or we've tried this or tried that, you know." And I think that's really amazing,
mm,
um, because this is a part of medicine that we're told doesn't exist, or
yeah,
we've forgotten, or is ineffective. And it is very effective. And I'm not saying this should replace, you know, orthodox medicine, because if I was in a, you know, had an accident or was really seriously ill,
yeah,
you know, I probably would be going to casualty,
yeah.
you know, rather than, you know, just getting the herbs. But I see it, how they can work together.
Yeah, well,
You
that's
know,
how, kind of how I see, and I would love how the future would go. That it wasn't kind of created in a way that scientific and medicine in that respect was the be all and end all, but that it could
yeah,
be kind of, you know, a choice, you know, where they could work in harmony with one another, and you know,
absolutely, yeah,
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 yeah, that
yeah.
is so amazing, and also I think it's really empowering as well. It's a super empowering thing to be able to think you could just you know, pop outside, or you know, get the right plant
Oh,
and
yeah.
administer it for yourself.
I mean, I have so many wow moments with herbs. You know, I've been a medical herbalist, practiced a medical herbalist for about sort of 10 years.
Mm.
And I have like so many of those wow moments. I mean, one of the big wow moments I had a couple of years ago was when I was making a spoon. I had this crook knife and took a really big chunk out of my thumb. And when you see it and it makes you sick,
Yeah,
and you
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah,
got blood spurting, yeah,
yeah.
and you think, oh, and bugger. And I grabbed some yarrow. And I wasn't sure. I mean, I talk about yarrow being sort of a wound wart, soldiers' wound wart, and how soldiers used to take it into battle to stop really heavy bleeding. And you talk about it, but you think, oh, yeah. And so I grabbed some of this, chewed it up, put it on my thumb,
Chewed
and
it up.
pardon?
You chewed it.
Yeah, I like chewed
Chewed
the
it up.
yarrow, put it on my thumb, and the blood stopped. It stopped spurting within
You were
a very
such a
short period of time.
badass, Edwina. I could just see blood squirting out your hand, and you're like gnawing it and
Yeah, putting it on,
you're a
poulticed,
true proper
wrapped it
woman.
round, and it sort of like stopped, and the pain went as well.
Amazing.
And it was amazing how like the blood had congealed in it and formed like a dressing. And the next day I took it off and it started spurting again. So I put some more on and had no infection. It took the pain away, had really, really good wound healing. I mean, if you look at it now, there's tiniest stints. It healed beautifully within weeks. And
And
I've
what was
never,
that?
pardon?
What was it called? The herb?
Yarrow.
Yarrow. And what is
Yeah.
yarrow?
It's like it's a native plant and it does grow around here. So it grows at the corner of the field, it can grow in grasslands, it grows in my garden, it came on its own. And it's almost like got little feathery sort of leaves. It's called Achillea millifolia, and millifolia means like 1,000 leaves. So it looks a tiny little bit fern-like, and then you get this beautiful sort of creamy flower that's quite aromatic. And it's a great herb for things like digestive problems, circulation, and insect bites. Fantastic herb, but really seeing it in its in how it's been used by our ancestors and how it's been used in battle, used with sort of quite a nasty sort of wound on my thumb. Really sort of like was that wow moment. And I rang one of my herbal friends up and I said, I've just had a yarrow moment. And we were like, oh my God. And so it really, really works with that like spurting blood of your finger. And then she contacted me about a couple of weeks later and said, yeah, I've had a yarrow moment as well with a severe wound and it's just stopped bleeding.
Amazing.
So yeah, I
That's
have
great.
these wow moments all the
Wow,
time.
I love it. And you know what? Just as you were speaking then, I was thinking about the preciousness of people like you and what you're actually doing in terms of creating that bridge between our ancestry and the future. Because if there isn't people like you now doing this work, then that's so fucking sad that eventually it will just like erase, there might be a few like little torch holders, but if there aren't those people, then we're just going to have all this knowledge just completely erased. And it's just so special, isn't it, to have these,
it is special. I
knowledge.
mean, I see a lot of herbalists now, particularly herbalists who are willing to get out on the land and make things, and share the information. A lot of us see ourselves as a bridge between that ancestral knowledge, which we'd almost lost in favour of modern medicine, which is taking that revival at the moment and being this bridge and teaching our native skills to others who are absolutely loving learning, working with enthusiasm and taking stuff to a different level and telling their friends. We call it a herbal revolution and we're seeing it. And
And there's 22 women in this call who are obviously really keen on learning more and knowing more. So just wanted to say to the women in the group, if you've got any particular questions that you'd like to ask Edwina, in a moment we're going to move on to some more like practical things and things that you can be looking for in your environment, but if there's anything that you want to engage in or just join us in the chat, just it's really lovely to kind of because it's just me and Edwina on the screen, it's lovely to have your energy and your input in, so just kind of chat away with us and I'll bring you into the discussion with us. So Edwina, before we move on to the practical things, I love something that we talked about earlier when we were offline, and you were telling me about this magic of plants that grow near you because of the energy of those plants may be something that you need in particular. So people should be aware of what they have growing around them, because it might be exactly what it is they personally need. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Can do, yeah. A lot of herbalists that work very sort of close to with our native medicines and close to the land do firmly sort of believe that what we have growing close to us is what we need.
Mm.
And I mean, I have lots of, I can't believe some of the new plants that come in my garden this year, like cleavers. Cleavers is a great herb for supporting the lymphatic system and the immune system. And
Mm.
all of a sudden, it's in abundance everywhere. It's almost like, how you can buy a really good car, you can look after it. But if you don't change the filters or clean out the engine or get it serviced, it doesn't work as well. And
Mm.
our immune system and our lymphatic system is a little bit like that as well. And if we don't sort of service it, then it doesn't work as well. Like getting rid of all the old sort of like, dead white cells, and just keeping it functioning, everything flowing, so
Mm.
that our body's, producing like our white cells and getting to where they need it, and
Yeah.
clearing out those that have sort of died and sort of need recycling. And cleavers is one of those. It's a bit like a big pipe cleaner going all the way through, cleaning it out, making sure that your immune system is working very, very efficiently.
Mm.
And guess what's in abundance this year with this sort of pandemic?
Cleavers.
Cleavers.
Amazing.
It's
Yeah.
just like everywhere in my garden.
Yeah. Carla says there's
Um,
lots of them there
and
too.
it's sort of like, well, use me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the story I was going to tell you about sort of Dorothy.
Oh
I
yeah, I
mean, Dorothy,
love the
bless her,
story.
is not with us anymore. Yeah, she was an old lady next door, very meticulous about her garden. But
Mm.
I always had like headaches, migraines, and never slept for years and years. It was quite normal for Dorothy to be up at like 3 in the morning. And feverfew always used to like growing just at the border of our house. Now, I let my herbs grow where they like, choose where they want to grow.
Mm.
And so the feverfew, she'd never allow it to grow in the garden, but it always grew right along the fence near the sort of gate between our house. Yeah. And the valerian, which I sort of grew quite abundantly, well, grew in my garden until the cats decided that they liked to get stoned on the roots and kept digging them up, found it seed into Dorothy's garden. And she'd come round with big clumps of it and said, Rena, what's this? And so it's valerian, Dorothy. It's there because you can't sleep. Well, no, she'd hand it to me because it didn't fit in with her garden.
Mm.
But the valerian was always grew better and very vigorously in Dorothy's garden than mine, because Dorothy needed it. I didn't,
Mm.
and I still
Amazing.
don't. So plants tend to grow where they need. And I think like nettles love to grow near human beings.
Mm.
Wherever you find disturbance, where there's been any disturbance of the soil where human beings have sort of live and where they've been, there's always loads of nettles. And it's because nettles love to grow near us because they're mega nutrients, and they're just great for keeping our bodies functioning in a very sort of healthy way.
Mm.
And so they just love growing near us. They're great for arthritis, great for sort of rhinitis, great for so many things.
Mm.
So yeah, it is looking at what's in your garden.
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask you a bit more about that in a minute. I'm just going to go to some of the questions.
I've got some
Um,
questions.
yeah, so let's have a look. Anita says, I'd love to know about plants that can help with eczema and what to do with them. In fact, one of my friends, I think she's on, I hope she's on, she also has had a bit of a flare up of eczema recently. So yeah, is there any plants that are particularly good for skin conditions like eczema?
Right, it's interesting to look at why eczema might be there. Because if you think about your skin as an eliminatory organ, we don't tend to think of the skin like that, because we think it's just something that, covers us and you put creams on it. But it's actually eliminates toxins from your body, through the sweat. And
Mm.
if you've got an imbalance in your body, that you've got toxins, you've got that imbalance, maybe it's because of the things that you're eating. And
Mm.
because your skin is excreting, that's why you can have flare-ups of different things on your skin.
Mm.
Or, sometimes when we have problems with our gut, it can show up sort of on the skin. So it's always worth looking to see what's actually happening inside your body, with the foods you eat, the stress, what's your healthy gut bacteria like. But things that you can use topically are things like cleavers. You know, I make
Oh,
cleavers creams and, you know, lotions, and that can, because it's such a cooling, healing herb and great for sort of cleansing the body, because it works with the lymphatic system under the skin. That's a great herb to have internally as well as externally as well. And I get really good results with people, you know, like using cleavers cream juice on the skin. And things like
amazing.
chickweed can help as well. You know,
And what?
as a
Sorry?
cool chickweed as well.
Chickweed. Okay, so
Yeah,
let's say that someone's kind of completely new to all this, and like Anita's asking about eczema, and she really likes the idea of cleavers or chickweed. How do you start? Like, how what would it look like if you were to say find some cleavers, and what would you do with it to make something like
that's
a tincture
cleavers.
or a cream? Yeah,
There we
let's start
go.
with cleavers.
Can you see it? I
Oh,
don't know if you can
here's
see.
one I picked
There we
earlier.
go. It's like sticky willies, they call it. So it sticks to
Love
me.
it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Love
can you
it.
see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sticks. It's called either goose grass or sticky willies. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah.
So that's really in abundance at the moment. It likes to grow in hedgerows, corners of gardens, alongside nettles.
Mm.
So this is the herb I was talking about cleaning your lymphatic system, yeah,
Mm.
and just cleansing and cooling your body. So sometimes what you can do with this to use it internally, if you're sure that's what you've got,
Mm.
um, you know, then you can just sort of like chop it up, pour cold water on it, leave it overnight, you know, and then sort of drink it. And then
Are
just
you,
top it
are
up.
you
So
making
that,
your notes, girls? Are you putting things down? Chop it
yeah,
up, chop it up, put boiling water on it.
cold water.
Cold water, sorry.
Yeah. Or the other thing you can do, right, is put this in the juicer. So the best
Oh,
juices are those, you know, the macerating ones, like the wheatgrass ones, where
yes.
you put it in, turn the handle, yeah, feed your cleavers in, and you get like a thick green juice. And that's really nice to sort of have in your juices, or you can
Mm.
just have it with a bit of water. It's quite thick and green. If you have too much, it can be quite stimulating because it's a member of the coffee family. Yeah.
Mm.
So you can have that internally to help cleanse things inside. But what you can do as well, you can get some of this. You probably might be able to see the juice. There we go. See
I'm
the
loving
juice
this.
coming off. You see
Oh,
that juice?
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's the juice that you want. Yeah. That's really cooling for, you know, inflamed skin, nettle stings, um, you know, any sort of skin irritations. And I've just noticed that Christine was saying that she's putting it in cream.
Yes.
Yeah. So hi, Christine. I saw your name come up. And I make a salve, like an oil, making it into salve, and then I add the juice of it in a cream making process. And it's just absolutely fantastic.
Well, do you
You
know
know,
this is just kind of clarified what you were saying earlier when you said that things grow by people who need them. So, you know, when I just mentioned before, as after Anita said about her eczema, one of my friends, Libby, has got some eczema. I've never seen her with eczema before, but she's got some here and in other areas of her body. And she's on the call, and when you just held that up, she said, "I can't believe that's it. I see it growing everywhere, and that's why I need it."
yeah, it's great stuff actually. I mean, it's also my sister's a beautician, and I've been making for her for years, like a Cleavers lotion.
Oh.
Cleavers is actually really good for wrinkles. And
Ooh.
things like rosacea, it's good for cellulite. It's good for all those beauty things. And my
Mm.
sister, I mean, say she's a beautician for a long time. She won't use anything else on the skin. And with a lot of her patients as well, they're really into it. So when I do my cleavers oil and I make it into sort of like a lotion, there's a waiting list for it because people just love it. It's just
Amazing.
fantastic in skincare. In fact, it's amazing. I wouldn't use anything else on my skin.
Well, I just
Um,
love the idea of like, because I really like products, I really like makeup, but in the last few years, like, I mean, more than that, really, I've just been so anti putting anything on my skin that's toxic, and just realizing that the FDA, like, there's a lot of stuff that's just not really getting
yeah,
properly examined and looked at. And so, realizing more and more that we really do need to take like responsibility for what shit
yeah,
we're putting on our skin, and then finding out that something like 80% of stuff that we put on our skin gets absorbed, or
yeah,
something like that, made me think, right, I really want everything that goes on my skin to be something that maybe close to being able to eat it, because then it's only really safe. So I'm fascinated by herbal beauty and things
yeah.
like that, so this cream sounds
It's
amazing.
amazing. I mean, if you think all you're putting on is cleavers, sunflower oil, good quality beeswax, because I get my beeswax from Anne Holland. I don't know if she's on here tonight, but she's got bees and she's the well loved up her bees. And, aloe vera, a bit of frankincense, essential oil, and it's just fantastic stuff. I
Yeah.
wouldn't use anything else. My sister wouldn't, her clients wouldn't use anything else. I just can't make enough of the stuff.
So what do you
Um,
cleanse with? Are you cleansing with like the oil?
I cleanse with it as well. I just put it on my skin, wipe it off, and that's all I use.
What
I
with
mean, I'm
the
56, my skin's really good. You
Give us a
know,
close up, Edwina. Let me see. You
can't see now, you don't have
do.
glasses. But yeah,
Yeah,
my
you
skin's really good.
have
56,
brilliant skin. And so,
and
sorry,
that's
when
all I
you said
use on.
which was the oil that you used to take your makeup off with?
I just use the cleavers.
Right, the cleavers. Okay, so and you can
Yeah,
use
just
it
put
as
it
a
on, wipe it off, and then just put a bit more on, let it soak in, and it's just got a nice consistency. And I can see that Chris Simmons on there is absolutely raving about it, because I think Chris,
yes.
you use it too, don't you?
She's used
Yeah,
your recipe and she strongly recommends it. Oh, amazing. So, well, we'll talk a little bit about kind of how we can get hold of you and how we can grab all your amazing recipes off you at the end of the call. So please stay on for that. But Emma's asked a question as well about she's interested in training to become a herbalist and would love to know more where to start. She's seen some online courses, but not sure if they'd be any good. Any information you give me? So that, wait on, Emma, till the end of the call, because Edwina's going to tell you something that she's offering, which is an amazing online course. So we'll talk a bit more about that at the end, but hang on. So I'm really excited. We've talked about that. I found, okay, Carla, let's go on to that then. Carla's talked about bindweed. What can you tell us about that?
bindweed. Bindweed. We don't tend
Bindweed,
to
okay.
use it that much in herbal medicine. It does have some uses, which are more like for the lymphatic system, but it tends to be a herb that's not used very often
Oh,
now.
okay.
So yeah, I've never worked with it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, maybe there's something for you to discover with bindweed, Carla.
yeah.
So can you tell us a bit more about dandelions? Because dandelions are literally everywhere. I've for a long time really, really loved dandelions. And, really, when I was a child, I remember people calling them weeds and my mum pulling them up out the garden. And I was always like, oh, I really like them. They're really pretty. I never understood why they were weeds. And now, from some of your amazing online stuff, I've learned that there's so much magic in a dandelion. So, can you briefly tell us a little bit about them?
I can do, yeah. I mean, I think when we look at dandelions, it's like, what do we see? And our cultural myth is no matter how beautiful and useful they are and how resilient and amazing, our cultural myth is we don't like them, we don't see the beauty. And I think they were the sort of logo with Monsanto at some point, weren't they? The dandelion.
Mm,
Because it's a plant that we've been taught to hate as a
yeah.
gardener, that we don't
Mm,
want. And it's like, when you look at it, I mean, my back garden is full of dandelions at the moment. They're closed today because the weather's not so good, and next doors haven't got any because they Monsanto everything.
mm,
Um, but they are incredibly beautiful. You look at them, beloved
mm,
by bees. The bees really love them, and you can use every part of the plant. So it's nice, sort of like from autumn to early spring or even late spring, to
mm,
use those roots, because that's where the plant stores its life force, its
mm,
carbohydrates. So the root is really good for things like it, because it's slightly bitter. It's great for getting the digestive system going. It's a
mm,
really good liver tonic. It's great for detoxifying our bodies by working through the liver, and great for getting rid of things like heavy metals. you know, sort of some of the toxins and pollution that we have as part of our modern life. So in getting the liver going, it's great for stopping that recycling of hormones, great for menopausal hot flushes because it works through the liver. And it's nice and cooling. Really nutritious and great in coffee as well. So if you
Oh,
actually dig
dandelion
that root,
coffee.
scrub it, chop it up, dry it in the dehydrator or the oven till it's dry, and then just dry roast it like in a frying pan, you know, without any oil in. Put it in the coffee grinder. It makes a really good coffee
Oh,
substitute.
amazing.
So have too much of it, and it does have a laxative effect as well in some people. But that might not be a bad thing, you know.
No.
So
Wow, that's so amazing. And the dandelion as well. Like if you were saying that the root has real power as well. So are you suggesting that when people would forage for a dandelion that they should pull it out from the root?
yeah, it depends. I mean, if you're just using leaves, cut off the leaves. If you're using the flower, you know, just use the flower. But if you sort of, you know, you dig in your garden and you want them, you know, to say using medicine or to using coffee, when you pull the dandelion up, you'll find that there is some of that dandelion root that's always left in the soil. That because it's so resilient, it's very hard to get rid of. So even when I'm digging the roots in the garden to use, just leave the bottom bit; it'll break off anyway.
Right.
So and it'll always come back.
Mm. And it's something
So
I remember seeing something in one of your videos that you said that was it dandelion? I might have got this wrong, but you cut the stem and the kind of serum inside it. Thank you. The serum
that's right.
inside it
Yeah,
is good for warts. Did you say?
it is. Yeah, great for warts and verrucas as well.
Amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. My daughter's got a couple of warts on one of her fingers, and we've just tried absolutely everything, and they've never worked. So we're definitely going to try dandelion.
Well, try the dandelion latex. The other thing you can try is one of my friends and colleague who I do the Weeds and Wild Medicine course with, Danielle Kay. She always makes a really concentrated oil from wild garlic leaves, and she uses that, you know, on verrucas and gets really good results with that as well.
Mm.
Um,
Oh, it's so amazing. It's
it
just
is amazing,
beautiful.
isn't it?
Beautiful, beautiful nature. It's
Yeah. So
amazing.
going back to dandelions, you've got the leaves which make a got some leaf here, I think. I did have. I was nibbling it earlier actually. That's why the top's missing.
Yeah, like a little
So this
rabbit.
is actually a great salad vegetable.
Mm.
The longer you leave it in the season, the more bitter it goes. But if you can get them young, especially before it flowers, it's just so nice and slightly bitter, really nutritious. You know, just throw it in your salad. It is used as a diuretic, which means that a diuretic means it sort of makes you wee more, let's say, which is where it gets the old name of wet the bed, because we used to call it wet the bed when we were kids,
Okay.
or pissenlit they call it in France. So it does have that little bit of a stimulating effect on the kidney, so you can get rid of excess fluid. But what's so good about this is that when I was nursing, I used to give out water tablets like frusemide to people, you know, because they had like fluid retention. And you'd always hand out the potassium with it because it depletes the body of potassium. But the great thing about dandelion leaf is it works in the same way but has the potassium in it. So it's like Mother Nature knows what you need.
Yeah.
You know, it's there in the complete package. So, but, you know, highly nutrition as well, you know, nice lung tonic as well. And I had a funny story once. I went out with this guy many years ago, and you know, he knew I was a herbalist and forager, and he made me a casserole and put dandelion leaves in it, but it was really late in the season, and it was to impress me because it was so bitter. It was like the vilest thing I ever tasted. And I had to put loads of soy sauce in to try and get rid of the bitterness, but I just thought it impressed me. But no,
Bless
it
him.
didn't. So yeah,
he didn't
so
end up
great
as your
salad
husband
vegetable
then.
at the moment. And of course, the flowers are amazing because you can put them in food, salads, barges. Since I've done the video, loads of people have been showing me like the barges done with wild garlic and vegan honey as well. because you can
Oh
do like
yes, well Libby's making vegan honey as well out of dandelion. That
yeah, so you can do
yeah.
a honey with it. But if you do like I did and let it boil too much, which I did and boiled it right down, I've got dandelion toffee. So it's just like
Mm.
toffee made of dandelion flowers. It's really nice.
Amazing. And yeah, I loved the look of the dandelion barges. And so,
Oh, they're
guys, if you
gorgeous.
want any of these lovely recipes, then at the end of the call, we're going to tell you where you can find Edwina online and where you can look at some of these
Yeah.
incredible videos that you and your lovely man have put together. And
Oh, yeah.
they're just so professional, they're brilliant, and they're really inspiring, and they make you want to get out there and find stuff. So, can we move on to wild garlic? Because that's probably the most common, I feel, that, there just
Yeah,
seems to be a hashtag wild garlic everywhere at the moment. Like people are
there is.
really
Can I
getting.
show you something though?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, please do.
right. Oh, there we are. Something I just made this morning. This is to go to. Um, you can't smell it actually, but you can see it. This is to go to the high speed, the H2S camp, the activists. This is dandelion flower and birch bark salve, which is great as a drink to muscle rub with loads of lovely essential oils in. So they asked for something for their achy joints and muscles. And so I've come up with that, and it's done in coconut oil and olive oil.
Wow.
That's it's really nice. Can you see it?
Yeah, it looks amazing. It looks really
Yeah.
nice. I just love the thought of spreading myself with nature
Oh, it's
in
lovely.
terms of
Feel
fragrance
good
and
birch bark and dandelion petal
oh, that
salve.
sounds
Oh,
lovely.
gorgeous. Anyway, so wild garlic.
Wild garlic. So I
Right,
found a
wild
little patch of
garlic.
it in nature, and I've been wild garlic foraging for on a couple of occasions now. And I've just kind of been randomly chopping it up and putting it in things, and I've made a pesto. But that's pretty much my repertoire of wild garlic.
Well, you can use it just as you would garlic. I mean, it's great with nettle and wild garlic sort of soups. Just use it, with potatoes, curries, just put it in everything.
Mm.
It's just so sweet and delicious. But when you start to get the flowers, which you've got now, it tends to not be as nice. But
Oh,
you can,
really?
if
I've
you
picked
get,
loads of the flowers thinking that they were going to be the best bits.
they are nice, but if you get you, but when you get the flowers and the buds,
Yeah,
the leaves aren't so lush. Yeah. So
right.
because the energy is really in those buds and flowers, so nibble the buds, nibble the flowers. It's almost like sweet garlic. It's gorgeous.
Mm.
I tell you who you might like to look at the videos of is Craig Worrell, who's a forager, and he's been doing some videos in working with wild garlic. But he's been
Mm.
doing like fermented, lacto fermented wild garlic leaves. And if you can find one of his videos on his page, I think he's Incredible Edible Leads. Sorry,
Right.
I think it's Edible Leads, but Craig Worrell. He's got some great sort of videos on there and really sort of like squeezing out that juice of the garlic, putting it with salt and lacto fermenting it.
Amazing. That
So
sounds
yeah,
great.
I've tried lacto fermenting the buds, but the buds at the moment, just put them in everything. They're
Yeah.
absolutely delicious. And that's a little wild garlic flower. Can you
Yeah,
see it?
the flowers are absolutely beautiful. The first time I went, there was no flowers, and the second time I went, it was all in bloom, and it was really exciting. And I thought I could sprinkle them on top of salads. Do you think that would
Oh, yummy.
work?
That, you see the buds?
Mhm.
You've got it there.
Yeah,
Yeah, see those
gorgeous.
buds? Mm.
So could you
So,
sprinkle
so
them on
nice.
top of salads, the flowers, Edwina?
Mm. They're just lovely to nibble.
Yeah.
And if you think as well with wild garlic, if you think about the use of garlic, you think about antibacterial, antifungal,
Mm.
antiviral, great for things like parasites, worms, supportive of your cardiovascular system, circulation. All those benefits that we hear of with garlic, you've got with wild garlic as well.
Yeah.
And it's free and it's
Yeah.
just yummy as well.
It's amazing and it's so lovely. And yeah, Carla was saying kind of, only forage what you need to rule.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that while I've been looking online about things, it talks about being like responsible as a forager. So what kind of tips could you give people on that responsibility, and as on top of not taking more than what it is you need?
I think it's looking at what's growing around you. I mean, things that are plentiful like nettles, if you just take things like the tops off them, they will just sort of increase. Yeah.
Yes.
So some things like to be foraged, like if you think about, nettles, think about dandelion leaves, dandelion flowers. So some of these really common plants do benefit, I think, from sort of using them.
Yes.
And people worry sometimes about foraging. And I think if you take, I tend to take about a third sometimes or no more. But sometimes you find that you're thinning things out as well. So nature does tend to benefit sometimes, because people see human beings as just like takers, and we are takers a lot of the time. But if we're working in symbiosis with nature, then when we're foraging, we're thinning things out, we're helping things to grow better. And I was thinking about when we're doing dandelion petals, and I was quite heavily sort of like harvesting food, and they were there in abundance, and even double abundance the next day. And then I realised one of the things I was doing was by using the flowers. I mean, this is not depriving the bees of the flowers, because they prefer my lungwort in the garden and the dandelion flowers at the moment. And I found that you're almost like deadheading them, so you're stopping them going to seed, and then you get encouraging like the new buds to open. So I found when I was harvesting heavily, I was getting more and more and more. So depending on what you use, where you harvest things from as well. If they're only very sparse, leave them. No matter how much you want them, leave them.
Yeah.
And only harvest as well from places that are clean. Like not
Yes.
using the side of a road or a field where there's pesticides, and
Or
just
dog
being
pee.
very respectful of the plants as well, because the plants are living. They are living beings, just like we are.
Yeah.
And it's moving away from that take culture into one where we work in symbiosis with plants. And I only chat to plants as well when I go and forage, and tell them what I want them for and how I want them to help. And building up a relationship with plants in my area. I've lived in this area for 50 years. The plants know me. I know where they grow. I know how much to harvest. I honour them. I chat to them. Sometimes I'll leave an exchange of something. Sometimes.
What kind of things would you leave?
Things like barley, or leaving things like barley, oats, bird seed, or even sometimes say if you're harvesting something. Like when I harvest things like elecampane, there's always those little shoots that you can either give to somebody to plant, and that perpetuates the spread of the plants. So, thinking about how you give back to nature with what you do. It might even
really
be that when you're
beautiful.
foraging, you're picking up bits of litter, so it's like a two-way thing. When I talk about that relationship that we have with plants, I do like to tell them if I'm harvesting for somebody or something in particular, I'll tell the plants why. And I think that's really important to do. A few years ago, when I was supporting the anti-fracking camp at Preston New Road, one of the guys there had been dragged across aggregate by security, and they'd taken the top skin off a lot of his back. It was the gravel crash was terrible. And he put it on Facebook and asked if I could do something. So I went out and I was doing a daisy and plantain cream for it, salve. And I went out in the fields and I said to the daisy and plantain, I want you to do this to help this man and to heal his back, and I'm going to make you salve. And I made this salve and I took it up there, and his back was a mess. It was starting to get infected, and he was in a lot of pain, and his girlfriend put it on. And I went back about 8 days later. He had completely new skin. And
Wow.
I'm an ex-nurse, so I've seen a lot with wound healing. I've never seen anything quite so incredible.
Wow.
There was a tiny bit of scabbing in one corner near his shoulder, but the whole back had healed to new skin. He couldn't believe it, and his girlfriend couldn't believe it. And that's like working with plants and trying to work in relationship with them,
Yeah. And I suppose it's offering intention with it as well, like when you,
it is, yeah.
And that's part of every kind of like almost like a prayer process, isn't it? The things that you do and you set with intention have got more power and meaning.
Yeah, and it is sort of like, rather than, I think one of the things that where we become lost as human beings, that we just constantly take, and we think that something's there for us, it's there for itself.
Yeah.
and for nature, it's part of nature. So it's having that two-way relationship with something,
Yeah.
and I do say to people, if you sort of forage in your area, build up a relationship with plants, sort of sit with them, honour them. Even, sometimes when I've had a lot of harvesting of elderberries, I'll do a little bit of a ceremony out on the land and, give back, a bit of wine or mead, to the
It's
land and just
beautiful.
say thank you. So it is
Yeah.
about, I think, in the past, our ancestors had a relationship with the land
Yeah.
and the plants that indigenous people do. And I think it's important we build that up in our own
Yeah,
area.
well, it really struck me the other day when I mean, it was the first time I've ever done it, but I've absolutely loved it, where we started to plant some seeds in the garden, and it was such a beautiful process in itself, but it felt really poignant and really sacred to do that process. And it
Yeah,
made me think that, gosh, at some point in my history, or some point in my ancestors' history, um, I would have been planting these seeds for the absolute survival of myself and my family. And then you
yeah,
imagine that intention and sacredness and prayer and absolute love of the elements
yeah.
that will help it to grow. So it kind of like made it even more confirmed to me. I get why people pray to the elements. I get why people bless the
Oh,
earth. I get
absolutely.
that kind of sacred union, because it's absolutely your life. But now we've kind of, because we can just pop to Tesco and pick up the
Yeah,
things that we need, we've lost that kind of just beautiful relationship with the thing that's catering for our survival.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was about sort of survival, but it was also about animism as well, that seeing not just us as separate from nature, that we are nature,
Yeah,
and that we're not superior to nature, but we are just on an equal basis with everything in nature, is working as part of this
yeah.
symbiotic web that supports each other. And
Yeah,
knowing that if you don't look after plants, they're not going to look
they're
after
not going to look
you.
after you. And
You know?
almost like we're definitely not superior to them. If anything, we need to be like bowing our asses in front of them, like,
Oh
for
gosh,
the,
yeah,
just like, and which is why I kind of understand that, before kind of Christianity came, that we were like, absolutely praising Mother Earth and the
absolutely,
sun
yeah,
and, the wind and the rain and everything that helps to nurture crops. And yeah,
yeah.
I'm just
Because
going to
that's
read some
it.
of
I
the
mean,
chat. I read recently this from Libby: we need to transition from consumer to producer. And this is resonating here, giving back. Yeah. Consumers to
yeah, working
producers.
in relationship with, that around us, and bringing back that respect, because we look after the earth looks after us.
Yeah.
It's the same with plants, thinking how you can give back,
Mm,
even when you sort of, foraging. I mean, I harvest my wild garlic on the lane at the back. But, I've taken some of those bulbs and put them in my garden and give it a whole space. And that's really sort of like grown in a way that it wouldn't do on the lane,
mm,
and because I think human beings as well, we transport plants. And I think that's part of
yes.
our sacred relationship, that we can carry those plants, those seeds, those
Yeah.
bulbs, or even those, like with my elecampane plant, that when we harvested it and made medicine, so weeds and medicine, those little shoots that were left that we
Mm,
didn't use, we gave to people who planted them, put them in their gardens. And
mm,
people say, we've been running weeds for about 6 years. Remember that elecampane plant? Well,
yeah.
it's massive now in the garden, and that's how plants spread, through us sometimes. It's almost how they reproduce through
Yeah.
us. We carry things, we plant things,
Yeah.
in the right places as
Mm,
part of that symbiosis.
yeah.
Got
Um,
more questions there, Kate?
yes, so well, just a few comments really. Lovely one from Christine saying, take a bag and litter pick, clear the area, which is just a gorgeous way of
Yeah,
protecting
that's
our
what I do
nature, isn't it?
sometimes.
And
Yeah,
giving back. Yeah,
yeah,
what a lovely suggestion. Thank you for that. And yeah, I think that's it in terms of the comments. So we've only got a little while left, and so what I'd really like to talk about is something that we said we were going to discuss, which I think is probably important, because I imagine that so many women in this call are really inspired to get out there, look at what's around them, knowing that they can come to your website and your course to have a look much more deeply at what they can find and what they can do with
yeah,
it. But what about the safety? What about, you think you found something, you pick it, and what was that film where the guy goes out? Is it called Into the Wild? And
Yeah,
he's
that's right.
surviving off,
Yeah,
and I always
yeah,
think about things like that and think, oh shit, can you imagine if
yeah.
you pick the wrong thing
I
and
mean,
then make yourself really sick or
I think if you can look at plants in the sort of British Isles, we have very few really poisonous ones. But
mm,
the poisonous ones that are there, and they're quite abundant in the northwest, can kill you. It's a one-way trip to an intensive care unit. And so some of our quite abundant plants like hemlock, water, dropwort are just very, very nasty.
mm,
And they can look like so many other things as well. So it's like learning your plants, learn your poisons at the same time as you learn what things are. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
If you know you can get on herb walks, which is probably very doubtful this at the moment, but getting on herb
Mm,
walks with people who know what they're talking about,
yeah.
with foragers, herbalists, botanists, learning your plants, getting used to what they look like at different times of the year, because something
Mm,
coming up in spring can look quite similar to other things. So if you think about pumpkin
yes,
coming up in spring, looks very similar to foxglove, which you
yeah.
wouldn't want to sort of use. So learning about plants right the way through the seasons, what they look like,
Mm,
what parts you can use, where you even when I teach like identification of plants,
mm,
don't just look, smell it. Like with wild garlic look like other things like wild arum, which could bring your mouth out
yes.
in blisters, or lily valley, which is poisonous, right? But the one
Libby,
defining
I'm just
factor,
saying to my friend Libby who's on here, I've just left some wild garlic on the path for her tonight. I smelt it, I promise. You're not going to come out in
yeah.
blisters.
But that's it. But the dead giveaway is if it smells of of garlic, it is wild garlic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an easy one,
So,
isn't it?
and think about how things feel. Get used to where things grow. You know, um, start off with just learning a few plants. You can't go wrong with nettle, because
Mm,
even though it looks like dead nettle,
mm,
and other things that people can mistake it for, there's
mm.
nothing really poisonous. But the really defining thing with nettle is it stings.
Yes.
You know,
Mm.
so yeah, getting used to. Hi Wilma, got a nice little message. Yeah.
Wilma's coming on your
So
course.
yeah, just looking at other things, where they grow, what they smell like, what they feel like as well. Even though comfrey looks very similar to foxglove, when it starts to grow, it feels different, it smells different. So using all your senses, and if you're not 100% sure about anything, don't use it
Yeah, I
at
think
all.
that's really great advice.
Yeah,
Um,
just
is
working
there
with things and
is there
building your
any other
confidence and stuff like nettle.
questions,
What's
guys?
that?
I'm just asking the people in the group if there's any other questions that they might like to know before we wrap up um, and move on to talking about what Edwina's offering. And Edwina, you didn't send me the link to your course, so I'm wondering, maybe Wilma, because you just mentioned the course there. I'm wondering if you've got a link that you could pop for us in the chat, because Edwina's got an online course coming up. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that before we go?
Yeah, I will do. Um, for the past 6 years, my colleague Danielle, Kay, and myself have been running a hands-on read-to-well medicine course, which I know some people on here have probably attended, which I know
Mm,
Christine's been on, and other people on here I think were going to attend it this year, but it got cancelled. And we've made it like the course we wanted to when we did our degree, because we wanted something that was really hands-on. There's
yeah,
sort of no academic stuff, just hands-on, fun, harvesting, being out on the land and making your own medicine. And people love it. We
yeah.
love it. But this year we've not been able to do it. And so we decided, like, this first year to actually do it online.
Mm,
Um, Obviously, it's like nothing like the weeds and well medicine we run, because that's mega hands-on, and
mm,
but we wanted to get something where there was some essence of that. So we've got, like, for the next 5 months, hopefully the lockdown will be over then,
yeah,
where people
inshallah.
can sign up to our course. We're charging £20 at the moment for the early bird. Each sort of session, where we're going to be doing an hour Zoom call with both of us. We're going to, we'll be doing a herbal tasting, a guided tasting, to really connect people to the taste of a plant and how it feels, because that's a great learning experience. We're going to do some videos online too, like how-to things, and a virtual herb walk,
Mm,
as well as like the handouts. So we've never done this before. So it's been a massive learning curve, but we just know that it's so needed by people.
Yeah,
And it's a bit of a lockdown special because we're doing it with plants that everybody can access. The
that's
weeds in your
great.
garden, what's on your daily exercise walks. Even with, things like, the cleavers, nettles, birch, rosemary, willow, herb, mugwort, plantain. And we teach people how to make things like salves and lotions,
I
tinctures,
was going to
syrup.
ask, because I really like the whole kind of tincture side of things and oils and things
Yeah.
like that. I love making things like
Well, we're
that. So,
covering that as well because that's alcohol based, how to make it with vodka. And we're doing glycerites as well for those people that don't sort of like want to take alcohol. We're doing vinegars. We're even going to do some panhydrosols as well. Like the panhydrosols are sort of like the distilled water of the plant. We're going to do with
oh, okay.
ice and pans and things.
So exciting. Oh my God,
Oh
that's going
yeah,
to be just.
Marta as well has been on our weeds and well medicine.
Oh, thank you so much, Marta, for putting it there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
great.
great. So if anyone is interested in Arena's course, then
Yeah.
you can access it there. And I'm just wondering, Libby, if you can, for me, just in fact, I might be able to do it actually. Don't worry, Libby. So just while we're sharing bits and pieces, anyone that's interested in my work and the sister circles that I'm offering. We're very full on the Thursday, but we do have some places on the Sunday. So if you want to attend a weekly circle, then I'm just popping my information there as well. So just while we're on with sharing links, they're both there from me and Edwina. Also, just to let you all know that when you signed up for this, you popped in your email address, and that means that me and Edwina can hassle you on email. No, it doesn't really. We won't hassle you at all, but it does mean that you are subscribed to our mailing list. If you don't want to be subscribed to either mine or Edwina's mailing list, feel free to just cancel that. But what it will mean is that perhaps Edwina can let you know about the course, and I can let you know about some of the sister circle offerings and the future temple talks that we're going to be doing. So yeah, we've got another temple talk next week, and it's just being clarified at the moment, and so I'm not going to tell you much information about that, but every Wednesday temple talks at 7 o'clock, so you can tune in on the same link that you came through at tonight, and we do the same kind of format with another inspiring women. Edwina, you're just an amazeballs
It's been
goddess,
great.
witchy woo,
Oh,
herbalist, and I just
head
think,
witch, wild woman.
yeah, and I think we all have that in us, there's just that aching, and I know that it's from me to just know more about the earth and be able to work with nature more and work with herbs and
Oh,
yeah, I just think there'll be so many women that will just feel, and men, the women can share it with their partners and etc. Just to feel
yeah.
so much more empowered about our knowledge and just to be able to share that with our children and pass that on. Like Lil's 15 and I made her come down and plant these seeds with me because I was just like, she might have done it in primary school once or twice, but she hasn't seen her mom and planting things and doing that important process, and she really really enjoyed it. So I think she would massively enjoy that hand down of knowledge about plants as well.
I think it's life changing.
Yeah,
That connection to plants. I've seen it on herb walks where people, or you've done herb walks with people, and you sort of you've seen people. Most people see just green stuff, when they look at nature, and then what you're teaching them is it goes beyond green stuff. It goes to what the plants are, what they do, the history behind them, how they feel
yeah,
with them. And then the real big life-changing thing is when people make their own medicine the
yeah,
first time, just like I did years ago with that plantain, and
yeah,
they find it works. And it's the
yeah,
most connective, empowering, incredible thing I think that anybody can do
yeah,
is even if you're doing like your own cream, and you find it works, or you're making a tea and you're feeling relaxed, even if it's like a lemon balm tea from a garden,
yeah.
and you're just feeling that effect of it.
I'm
It's
so
it's
excited to do more.
it's just
You're getting me
incredible.
all
It changed
excited.
my life, herbs.
Yeah,
And a lot of people say that. I know that like Marta's on here and Chrissy's on here.
mm,
And there's lots of sort of other women that have done classes with me before, and with other herbalists as well. And will say it's just an incredibly empowering, earth connected thing to do. And it is a game changer, isn't it, Christine?
Christine
Just
says it's a
that
game changer.
connection to the land, and as women, it is like that witchiness. There's something very witchy.
I love that Emma said, I definitely have an inner hedge witch wild woman in me. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Inner
all,
hedge
I think
witch wild
every
woman.
woman's a witch.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we are so good at, you know, connecting with nature, making the medicines and using them in a really healing way.
Yeah, and do you know something that I found really interesting the other day when I watched your dandelion video, and I went out and I started picking some dandelions, and Lil, this is my daughter, was really embarrassed and was like, "Oh my God, Mum, can you just," because I had her holding the bag and I was picking them, and she was like, "Oh, Mum," you know, and every time someone came along, she wanted me to hide what I was doing. And actually, I did get a lot of looks, and so it's kind of like really quite sad that if someone sees you kind of picking some things, like some of them were really curious, some were a bit like, what is that weird woman doing? And so like that really makes you recognize how out of touch some places are in terms of like, okay, yeah, she's just picking some dandelions and she's going to use those, you know, they're like, what is she doing?
Strange person. And then they ask questions like, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, I do this. And it's like, oh, right. Yeah. But sometimes people engage with you as well, and you know, you learn. But do you know what? Talk about kids. I mean, I used to do stuff like you with my daughter when she was a teenager, and she get really embarrassed. You know, what you're doing this for? And I talked to her. She's 22 now, and she knows stuff. She knows about the herbs because when she was being really embarrassed, she remembered the names. And you know, she'll ring me up and she'll say, "Can you make me this up? Can you make me that up?" And then
yes, that's it. It's in, whether she thought you were mad at the time or not. It's it's embedded. That's what I'm hoping with Lil, with all of this stuff, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Kids love it.
Yeah,
kids love it. Right. Well, my curry's here because we're having. We just had some food delivered.
What are you having? What are your yummy curry?
Yeah, I've got. Yeah, so it's we've started having with this lockdown, like you know, takeaway night where we'll get some food delivered. So there's a really nice Indian restaurant down the road which is doing its best to stay open by doing takeouts or food deliveries. So we're trying to support them.
Are you going to sprinkle some dandelions on top?
No.
You're going to leave those out tonight. Okay, well, you enjoy your curry, Edwina. Thank you so much for being here with us all. Niamara said, thank you, Edwina and Kate. Really interesting temple talk. Carla said, enjoy. Thank you, ladies, for tuning in. As always, come back every Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Have a look at my sister circles that are online and offering, and have a look at Edwina's amazing online course as well. And Edwina, just love you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your incredible wisdom.
I've really enjoyed it. You know, after all this techno stuff, sort of like the past week, it's just nice to sit down and just talk about herbs.
Yeah, well, it's what you're good at. It's what you're here
just
for.
Hang out with the herbs for an hour.
Oh, keep spreading that knowledge and that love.
I will. Thanks to everybody. See you. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Bye, everyone. Lots of love, women. Bye.
Bye.